they're hiding something from us. The powers that be are hiding something from the people. And I think it has a lot to do with those rich people buying bunkers, probably has something to do with what's going on in Venezuela, the U.S.'s interest in Venezuela, the U.S. interest in Iran, perhaps, the U.S. interest in Canada. I'm going to talk about all that stuff, the recent earthquakes, and whether it might actually be linked to a pole shift. What does it mean when you have 3 major earthquakes around the world within a period of 8 hours? It means something's going on. I don't know what it is, but something's going on. They had a 5.9 earthquake in California. They had a 6.9 earthquake in Japan. They had 2 earthquakes in Venezuela. They had a 7.2 and a 7.5 in Venezuela. There's reports there's over 500 people dead in Venezuela because of those earthquakes. All this happening within a period of 8 hours. What's going on here? It sort of reminds me of the movie 2012, where there was a polar shift, magnetic shift, and there was massive tsunamis all across the world. I'm not saying all that's going to happen, but if we have another situation where there's more earthquakes happening, and they're around 6.0 or 7.0, something even higher, and it's so like you have this, it's happening globally. Yeah, it could be an indicator that we may have a problem here. So, if that's the case, then most of us are pretty much screwed. It would explain why so many billionaires have been flocking towards building bunkers. Maybe that's just something that billionaires do. They build bunkers, they get yachts. But it's really interesting how there's been a lot of talk of bunkers being built. But if that's the case, if you're dealing with flooding, are those bunkers going to protect you from flooding? It seems like people would be building ships, like in the movie 2012, ships that could handle tsunamis, ships that could go underwater as well. I don't know. I think something's coming, because, and it may not be related to that, but something's coming because when you look at what the elite class is doing, they're pouring a lot of money into just going away from people. For example, Peter Thiel, he apparently bought some properties, moving to Argentina or something like that. He's taking his family down there. It's just stuff like that that makes me wonder, okay, what do they know that we don't know? Like, what's going on behind the scenes? And we could be heading towards an extinction level event, and they would never tell the people. It could be like the episode of Paradise. First season, episode 7, where they know that there's going to be a big volcanic eruption in Antarctica, and the government sort of builds this underground city around a cave and sort of plan for that. And I'm sure the government has stuff like that going on anyway. I've never reading about the government spending a tremendous amount of money on underground cities. I'll talk about that in a second. But stuff like that. They don't care about human life. They just don't care. That's one of the lessons I've taken away from the Epstein files. I knew it, but man, the accusations being leveled against leaders, including Trump, and a lot of the stuff that's in there, people, just incredible stuff involving children. I think the people in this Epstein class, they don't even consider human beings to have any real value whatsoever. Remember when Tucker Carlson interviewed that former Bush official, the Assistant Secretary of HUD? It was Catherine Austin Fitts, and she was talking about how the government has spent about $21 trillion on underground bunkers and underground cities. She said that she realized that the HUD was spending, certain government entities were spending way more money than it was authorized by Congress. I'm thinking, like, how is that even legal? She was sort of describing like a black budget. $21 trillion. Man, that's a tremendous amount of money. I would understand why the government would have some type of networks, but that's a crazy amount of money. It's almost as if they don't care about the people above ground because they figure we're going to be dead anyway. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's why the people are never a priority. They don't care what happens with health insurance premiums. They don't care what happens with the cost of living. They don't care about the grocery store prices. They don't care because they figure most of us aren't going to be around anyway. So when you have a situation where you have, what was it? I think it was a 6.9 earthquake in Japan. It was pretty big. 5.9 or something in Northern California, and those two big ones in Venezuela, 7.2 and 7.5 on the scale. It's something I'm going to be watching very closely, because if we continue to see more of that stuff, then I'm going to wonder what's coming that they're not telling us about. So what do you guys think about this? Share your thoughts. One last thought. Somebody mentioned Iran being on America's target list because it has mountains. Now, if there was a big polar shift and there was tsunamis washing over the continents, maybe Iran would be an asset. Mainly because, it has mountains and it has oil. But, I mean, so does Russia. Russia has a lot of mountains as well in the middle of the country, and especially out east, and also is an oil producer. But some of the most prominent oil producers that actually has mountains, a decent amount of mountains, include Canada, Venezuela, the United States, Iraq, and Iran. It's interesting. We already went into Iraq, but Iran's more mountainous, and it has the oil, of course. And then there's Venezuela, which maybe it's just a situation where you have mountains, you're likely to also have oil. But there's countries with oil that doesn't have a lot of mountains. But it's really interesting. What the heck are we doing with Venezuela? I know we're sending a rescue team in to help out in the aftermath of the earthquake, but that is sort of interesting. He's talked about Venezuela. He kept talking about Canada, making Canada the 51st state. And I just thought that was nonsense. Like, what the hell is he talking about? Making Canada the 51st state. Why do he keep talking about that? And, why did he risk pissing off the Canadians? Like, what? Now I'm starting to think, okay, if you really believe there's going to be a polar shift and there's going to be massive tsunamis going on all over the world, then maybe it would make sense for him to want to make Canada part of the United States. I mean, in that context, it actually makes a little sense. I'm not saying I'm endorsing it, but I mean, maybe that's something. I don't know. Just want to throw these ideas out there. You guys, let me know what you think. Iran could be a number of things too. Obviously, there's Israel putting pressure on the U.S. to attack Iran, but then Iran's a partner of China. Maybe the U.S. wanted to counter China's influence in the region as well. But the main thing is the best interests of American people is not being used. Okay, they're not even trying to incentivize people to move to the mountains. If that's the case, but they don't care about the people anyway. So share your thoughts.